I'm super excited to introduce my guest, my LinkedIn expert, to be perfectly honest. Her name is Leslie Hughes. Welcome, Leslie.
Thank you for having me.
I'm hearing this like background applause. Anyway, so just real quick, Leslie and I met when we were both teaching at Durham College. We actually shared the same classroom, but had never met. My class would end and her class would start, but we never met. And then someone at a networking event said, you should meet Leslie Hughes. She's really great, et cetera, et cetera. And then the irony was when I sought her out, it ended up that we had the same class on the same day. It was kind of, I guess, meant to be that we met each other. But she's a dynamo. She's a great individual, and I'm going to let her introduce what she does now, and let her talk about some of the initiatives that she's taken, and we'll go from there. So, welcome, Leslie.
So thank you for having me on today to talk about the lovely world of LinkedIn. So a little bit of my background. I've been in the digital landscape for 20-something years, which is horrifying, right? And I remember digital marketing in a pre-Google world. And so I used to work, at Wedding Bells magazine in their web department. That's how I started in digital marketing way back in the 90s, which is crazy. Worked at a .com. You have to forgive me, I'm getting over a cold. So then I worked at a .com for years, and then started up my business in 2009, I started my business thinking I was going to do public relations. And then this world of social media sort of came about, and I started working right off the hop with Children's Wish Foundation and TBO were my first clients right out of the gate, which was kind of pretty great. And then I've pivoted. So although I have taught you and I met when I was teaching at Durham College, I teach at Ontario Tech as well, in the postgraduate department there. I also write LinkedIn profiles. I speak about LinkedIn. So that's where I've narrowed my niche quite a bit in LinkedIn, but with Ontario Tech, I teach about the broad strokes of social media strategy, digital marketing, all that kind of stuff.
I know she's probably going to get into this, but she's also a published author and was generous enough to share her book. I'm making sure the lighting is good. Create, Connect, Convert. And I've read it. It's earmarked, and there's so many valuable pieces of information regarding a LinkedIn profile in there. In interest of time, I'm just going to ask you some questions that I have here. And since you are the actual expert, feel free to add in your own kind of answers to questions maybe I don't ask. But the first question I had in my list was, what is the importance of LinkedIn in terms of personal branding for employment purposes?
So there's a lot to cover in this sort of question. So I sort of actually even separate personal branding with professional branding in a way. So the one thing that I used to have my students do right off the hop was audit their digital footprint. So I'm curious to know from your students, have they ever Googled their name to see what kind of appears? Because you have to remember that a hiring manager, a human resources person is definitely going to Google your name. And so what appears? Are you the kind of person that has this forward face of someone who looks confident and competent and professional? Or are you somebody that's, being a troll and is posting inappropriate things and can look kind of feral? So you have to be careful about even your personal sites, your Instagram, if you're on Facebook, if you're using any of these, and TikTok, like, it's okay to have fun. Just don't be a ding dong.
A ding dong. That is like an official term. I like it. A ding dong.
Don't be a ding dong. And so then when it comes to your professional presence, right? I mean, we all know this by now. Your students will know this by now that, there's so many people that have gone out there and created a brand for themselves just by putting themselves online. And so that first digital impression does matter, especially from a hiring perspective. Those, like, as I said, those hiring managers, if they Google your name, and I'm sure if your students Google their name, LinkedIn will be one of the highest ranked sites when someone Googles your name. So what is that first impression? And the same thing also goes for the fact that those hiring managers, when they get a resume, they take less than 6 seconds to look at it.
Question number 2. What are the most important aspects to include in a LinkedIn profile?
Okay, so going back to, think about the hiring manager, think about who's looking for you. What do they want to see? But the first thing they're going to see is they're going to see your your headshot. So the headshot's so very important. Ideally, if you can hire someone to do it or find a classmate to take a headshot of you, that would be ideal. So something that is not, not your your graduation photo, not the cute little photo that you think you look cute of, or you crop somebody out of it. All of these other different, or selfies, like no little cute little duck faces. Like, don't put those on there. I've seen all sorts, as can really, they're like people with no shirt on LinkedIn. And I'm like, please just at least put a shirt on. So that's important. So headshot's important. Your headline is then like another part of that. It's called the top card on LinkedIn. So your photo, your headline, and your summary is where I want the students to focus on the most. And then think about that cover image that sits right behind the headshot as well. I've used Canva to create images just of whatever the brand I want to present myself as. So that's another opportunity. Like from a visual perspective, you can showcase, whatever you think to be your brand. And LinkedIn has, even on not LinkedIn, Canva has you can just create a free account, and they have so many different free options for you to create back there. So, so photo, head, summary, and that cover photo are the really key crucial areas to focus on.
It's that visual first impression, right? So
right, yeah. And at the school you're going to, there's a whole lot, add more over time. Don't feel overwhelmed that you have to create an entire profile in one day, but do include this, where you go to school. Do include in that summary, because I will, I can talk, right? So we're going to talk about that summary. The summary is so important. Do include your accomplishments in there. Do include, have you taken, have you been an intern anywhere, or, what kind of classes have you taken? So what are the things that you're going to prove to that potential employer that you have the skills and the qualifications that they're looking for?
Yeah, there's so much. And this is why, Leslie earns part of her living creating LinkedIn profiles. So it's not a small thing. But like you said, take your time, right? You don't have to do everything overnight. Okay, yeah. Question number 3. And I think you'll like this question. What are some LinkedIn best practices and behavioral do's and don'ts?
Yeah. So this could be a laundry list. I've got some of them written down, right? So one is, do include that professional headshot. You have no idea how important that headshot really is. So we all carry cell phones in our pockets. Just have this, even I wouldn't even use this background. It's too cluttered. I would use just a simple backdrop, a simple background. Have your friends, play fashion for the model for the day or whatever. Just have that headshot done. Looking into the camera and smiling, believe it or not. There's a lot of people I see that have, especially people from other countries. I do work with a lot of international people, and they have a more formal headshot where they're not smiling, but we do want to see someone who's looking to the camera, dressed appropriately, smiling. Right for the reader. What's in it for the reader? Just think about your hiring manager. Think about, future pace, where you think you want to be, and write for them. It's not easy to really talk about our accomplishments, and we're going to get into that in a bit. But it is important for you to include those accomplishments in your profile, because people want to work with the best in class. Highlight those achievements. Everyone wants to work with the best. Okay, so other do's, do start to build a network, right? So networking is so important on LinkedIn as well, and build a quality network, not just randomly connecting with everyone out there. So that's another aspect of things. Don't pitch people right away. This is a big do not do. So when you send a connection request to someone, personalize it, find an icebreaker. Don't be pitching yourself. Hey, I want to work at your organization. You gotta build up that trust. You gotta build up that relationship first. So find those icebreakers of, hey, I noticed that you and I used to both go to the same, we're alumni of the same school. We have somebody we have a mutual connection in common. What are those icebreakers you can use to at least have the handshake and then build a relationship? So anyway, I could keep going, but don't post controversial. Don't get into arguments online too. That's another big one. Don't get into fights, arguments, controversial things. So those are just my top ones.
I remember a saying once related to that, is don't bleed all over people. If you're suffering something or you're angry or whatever, heal first, like calm yourself down before you post so that you're not bleeding all over people. And I thought that's a really interesting way to say it.
You could potentially jeopardize, a brand is not going to work with you if they think that you're going to go off. Like if you're just going to start fighting with people online, they're going to be like, we don't want that person to work here. So
yeah, some emotional control. Okay, here's a question. I think you might have touched on it a little bit already, but let's ask it again. What is the best tagline or header line for a student or a graduate? That's an important one.
Because you're my lovely friend and I adore you, I've sent you an ebook you can send to your students that really help to create that headline. So the headline ideally is either going to be, you could put graduate or you could put student at, and you're the college you go to, the school that you go to. You could put in there aspiring blank. Like, what do you aspire to do? What are you looking for? You don't want to be too forward with being like, oh my God, I would love a job in blankety blank. But you kind of want to sort of feature pace and sort of saying like aspiring, whatever department, whatever, aspiring marketer, aspiring, whatever role you aspire to do, account manager, whatever, maybe you want to include that. So think about the keywords that a headhunter might be using to find you. And so that's probably what I would lead with, but it changes. You can change it over time too. So
while you were describing that, I found, I think, the spot on the workbook under personalize your headline.
Right.
And you have aspiring marketing specialist, brand development. That was what you were referring to there. Recent graduate from such and such college, such and such university. I really like the word aspiring because it kind of shows like that's the direction you're heading in. You might not quite be there yet, but that's the direction you're going in.
And what I typically recommend too is like go onto LinkedIn, look for the job that you want. Start pulling up those keywords. Start looking at those job postings and seeing what's consistent across the different job posts. And so what are those keywords? And make sure that they're maybe in your headline, maybe they're in your summary, that you're mirroring back to the future employer, that if they want fill in the blank, that's the exact word and verbiage that you're using.
Yeah, I think that's a good point because it shows that you have the vocabulary. And I know from other instances where when you're looking at vocabulary, you want to be careful that you're using the lingo that the industry or the company that you're pursuing an employment with uses. So for instance, patient versus client in the healthcare field, things like that. So, I mean, we're covering all of this in future classes in the course that you're presenting in, but it's really good to talk about that even now in the headline. It shows your niche kind of objectives. Okay, next question. How can you talk about your accomplishments without sounding like you're bragging?
Number one, this is like, we all have this. So the one thing that I've learned, I think I told you this too, I think we've had this conversation, the more LinkedIn profiles that I write for executives, the more I realize how everybody has imposter syndrome. And it's not just a female thing. It's not just a Canadian thing. It's an everybody thing. It's like, it's universal, it's worldwide. So that bragging piece that we get so nervous about, like, well, I don't have anything to brag about, or why I'm not that unique, I'm not that different. Number one is you have to realize that everybody has a unique perspective. Nobody knows what you know from your perspective, right? So you're bringing skills and expertise into your role. You have accomplishments. You're currently enrolled in a program in school. That's an accomplishment. Have you had any extracurricular activities? That's an accomplishment. Have you put yourself through school working part-time? That's an accomplishment. The classes that you're taking, those are accomplishments. So it's not bragging when you stand in the value of telling people that you're good at what you do. The best reframe is to realize that you're coming from a place of service, that you're there to help. You're there to do the best work. So when you start your profile by saying, I'm driven, I'm passionate about making change, I love to help people, I love to problem solve, I'm passionate, driven, committed to, all those words don't sound like you're bragging. And then you can say, because you're writing it for them, you're writing to say like, I've chosen this career. I've chosen this career path because, and you can say my proudest accomplishments include. And so it's not bragging when you did it. And I think most people, if not all of us, feel very uncomfortable with putting that out there. But if you don't put it out there, the employer's not going to know. They're not going to guess.
What I heard you say, and I know you've said this before, is we've talked about it before, but to stand in your value. And I really like that because we're raised, especially as women, to be humble, be reserved, don't put ourselves out there, right? So it's like we're going against the grain by even saying, oh, I'm a college graduate. It's almost like, oh, I'm a college graduate. No, like, it's okay to talk about those things. Stand in your value. And I really like that.
And everybody has a unique value, right? So what is that unique value proposition that you're bringing to the table? What makes you different? What makes you unique? And the things that we often will think are maybe our biggest flaws can sometimes be the reason that makes us different. I mean, nobody likes boring. Nobody likes perfect. Perfect is boring. So understand that standing in your value, telling your story, and being of service is never going to come across as bragging.
The point that you made, being of service, I think that is also really valuable because, a lot of when employers are looking to hire you, they want to know what value you bring, what can you do for them, right? And I mean, it's reciprocal in a sense, like the person looking for a job also wants to know what can the employer do for them. So it's kind of backward and forward. But it's okay if you talk about, okay, I've accomplished this and I can use this accomplishment to help you do this, to accomplish your goals. So it's okay to talk about it, especially like you said, when you're coming from a position of service and value. Yeah.
And sometimes those reframes so one of the things I will do is say to someone, okay, so tell me what you might be known for, right? Are you organized? I'm not. Are you, like whatever it is that people consider you to be. If you don't want to say I am organized, you can say some people have described me as. Right? So it's an easier way to sort of reframe those brags by saying other people have described you as these things. And if you don't know then send an email to your friends and family and say, like, if you could describe me in 3 words, what would those 3 words be? And, of course you don't want like tic tac and ding dong. You don't want those words. But, what makes me different? What makes me stand out? And I think we all know what our core competencies are, our values, like, what makes us different.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And it's hard to ask. It's like, oh, well, I don't want to ask for compliments, but you're not really doing that. You're looking for feedback to help you accomplish a goal, which is to get a job so we can eat, because we need to do that. Next question, what type of information should new graduates share in posts to build authority and credibility?
So once we've built the profile, so that 3-step of the create, connect, convert in my book, that one over there, the create a strong first impression. That's number 1. You're going to make connections. Make connections with every teacher that you have. Make connections with your friends' parents. Start to build that network of people that you know, people you want to get to know. And then the last one about the convert is really building the thought leadership, which really, I can't remember the statistic on the top of my head, but I think LinkedIn is now 850 million members worldwide. Less than 10% of those are actually publishing content. So it's a huge opportunity for people to build thought leadership, stay top of mind. And so, even if you're not writing your own posts, right? I do write a lot of my own posts of LinkedIn tips because that's what I want to be known for. Reshare posts, right? So if you're in a niche, say you're a marketer, say you're in, like media art and design or whatever. And so hopefully you're following industry, like businesses, companies you want to work for. What are they posting about? Can you reshare those posts to show that you're interested in the organization, that you're really excited about what they're doing, say at that ad agency or marketing company or whatever it is. Reshare those posts, add a little context to it. Say, I'm loving what's happening, in the world of marketing right now, or whatever it is. And so just post. That's if I could just say, just start posting things, or if you have your own tips. just start posting.
I think that's really valuable too. And I know, like when you're creating a post, you don't have to say a lot because people's time is, so valuable. We don't need to like write a novel in a post, but just like Leslie said, sharing other people's valuable posts is a way for you to be part of the conversation without having to necessarily create conversation. I've been scrolling through the workbook now. It's quite extensive, and I really appreciate you sharing it with me. With my students too. So thank you so much for that. I wanted to kind of go up and just briefly share what you've shared with me, and you've got basically a step-by-step process of writing a powerful summary and about section. This is the part that probably takes the longest, right? Like writing your bio can take a long time.
It takes me, and like, I don't want to scare anybody, but it takes me when I'm writing, it could take me anywhere between 4 to 8 hours to write a bio for somebody, like the whole thing. It's because I really want to get into that story. What's their why? What makes them unique? What's the different, like all those things matter. I do the research of those job posts. Like I said, I pull out, like, if the person that I'm working with is looking to get a new job or like future pace in where they want to go, like what are the words that role is posting about? So like pulling those words out, making sure there's a little white space so that it's not just one big block of text, but that it's easily skimmable, it's easily readable. There's no grammatical errors. So yeah, I did my best to give sort of a plug and play, fill in the blanks, Mad Libs kind of to make it easier, because I know that it's really, as you know, I say this all the time, when you're inside the jar, you can't see the label.
And I'm sharing a LinkedIn summary worksheet. There's the fill in the blanks section here. So if you are finding it really challenging to write something, just use this. This is, you have permission from Leslie to use this. Please do. Make it worth her time. And then I've got
I'm like hoping to change the world of LinkedIn one profile at a time, right? Yeah.
Well, you're a unique individual that way, because there's not a lot of people that do that. So I feel very, very lucky that you were willing to do this with me today. So Leslie's included a LinkedIn first impression checklist in here, and kind of a step-by-step what to pay attention to, and what, like, even in the cover image, she's got like the the posting ratios, 1400 by 425. I'm not sure what the wording is for that. I've lost that on me. And then recommendations, how you can ask for recommendations, a little script, which is amazing. So this is quite an extensive workbook. They're going to be like, do we have to do that for marks? No, but it might help you with your LinkedIn profile. So anyways, I will stop scrolling through that, but thank you so much for sharing that with us.
Listen, I want to help your students, and also, like, I charge a lot of money for what I do, so they're getting all this stuff for free. And definitely go to, I don't even know what it's called the like Career Center or the Employment Center of your college. They have professionals there. Like, to hire me to do it is expensive. Like, I charge a lot of money. Your career center has people on staff that will help you. They will help you massage the copy. They will help you provide the right. So take advantage of it. You're already paying for the tuition.
Absolutely.
It's a part of your college. It's a part of the college, what you get with the college. I think even as an alumni, you can go back and ask for help in the career section as well for most colleges.
So yeah, Leslie,
yes.
Now you're on LinkedIn, and my students are going to be watching this going, oh, I want to connect with Leslie. Instead of necessarily sending a connection request, what could they do instead?
So definitely send a connection request. So my profile, I have changed it over into what's called creator mode, because I post frequently and because I want to be looked at as a thought leader. So that's a whole different thing altogether. So my button is going to, instead of a connect button, it's going to be a follow button. What I'm asking your students to do, where there's either a more button or there may be an ellipses, click on that, and then it'll say connect. So your students click on the connect, send me a personalized connection request saying that you're in Kimberly's class, that you watched the video, and I will accept your connection request. Because I don't connect with randoms.
That's truly amazing, honestly, because they have an assignment coming up and they have to connect with a certain number of people. And if they can connect with you, thank you so much for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And don't be afraid to reach out. And as I said to your students, like, reach out to your teachers, reach out to, you can never know who's going to get that foot in the door for you. And it's the 6 degrees of separation boiled down into 3 degrees of separation. That's where the power of LinkedIn comes in. The cold call that can be turned into a warm introduction when you're connecting with the right people is so crucial. So you don't know if your friend's parent is working for the company or knows someone who's working for your dream company. If they can make that connection for you, if I can help make that person bridge, making a connection, it's just going to open up so many more doors than just by simply trying to hand in a blank, like a resume that is just like everybody else out there.
But Leslie, I really, really appreciate your time. Leslie Hughes, Punch Media on LinkedIn or on her website. I'll put her website across there too in case you want to order her book. Know where to go for that. And thank you.
Thank you, Madame.